Hello, everybody. I'm Rex Slikes, and welcome to All Things Rex Worldwide Live. I'm so glad you're here. I've got a fabulous guest I'm going to tell you about in just a moment. Her name's Adora Evans, and you're going to be so thrilled to watch and listen to her. She helps women and men around the world in so many ways. But before I tell you that, I'm going to remind you that we're streaming live from Facebook, the Los Angeles Tribune Facebook page, where you can leave comments and ask questions. We're also streaming live from YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, and other places. But Facebook Live is where you can actually leave the comments. All of these shows are available in replay and on Roku TV. And I want to thank the Los Angeles Tribune for this opportunity, giving me my very own show where you and I can talk and you can meet so many of my impressive, wonderful guests. So if you haven't seen the show before, you're in for a treat today, and I invite you to go back and check out the other shows, All Things Rex Worldwide Live. Adora Evans, my guest, is the author of the book Majestic Money, the 30-Day Femme Manifesting Game, and has led thousands of women around the world to tap into their feminine power to create more money, love, miracles in their lives. Of course, that's my dog, Bailey. I'm recording from the home studio, and she's going to make noise, I can tell. As a seasoned entrepreneur, Adora went from a boarded-up home with no electricity at 18 to working with celebrities on the red carpet. She now has, for over 20 years, functioned as a coach, a healer, a teacher, and a spiritual guide, and as a celebrity connector and a coach. Adora has helped many healers, teachers, consultants understand how to package their brilliance and create strategic alliances and attract divine clients. And so without any further ado, I'm going to bring on Adora. Hi, Adora. How you doing?
Hi. Great to see you, Rex.
See you. I'm so glad that you're here. And we're going to tell people in a moment, and we're going to do it throughout the show, but you've got an upcoming event, so we're going to want to talk about that. But first, let me ask you, because men and women are watching, what is it that you do? How do you describe what you do to people, and how do you connect them up with their resources?
Yeah, so I'm a stand for all people living financially free, spiritually free, mentally free, emotionally free, and empowered. So everything I do is in alignment with that. I am an author, speaker, and an entrepreneur. So I'm co-owner in a supplement and wellness company, and have several entrepreneurial projects going on. So I know that's a lot of sentences, but basically I dedicate my time, my energy, and my life to help spiritually driven people live their highest, most aligned version of life. And I think there are several core elements that go with that.
Well, that's awesome. It's truly, truly awesome. So what would you say your mission in life is?
Well, at the base level, it's to love. I mean, at the very base, I think a mission is something that you can do every day. It doesn't mean you have to have so many people that you've helped, or you have to have so much money in the bank, or it's something that you can check yes on every day. Hi, Scott. And, my parents told me at 2 years old, they were often afraid that I would be kidnapped because they would find me hugging some stranger saying, I love you. And I feel like I'm an older, wiser version of that same. I don't just go around hugging all strangers anymore. But yeah, I think that's definitely core to my mission. And the other piece is really living spirit's highest calling for my own life and helping connect other people to theirs as well.
Well, that's awesome. So I arguably agree with you 100%. I mean, definitely, especially today, but throughout all of human history, we need more love. And we do need to be connected up to the divine, to who we are, to find our authentic selves. And so, anyone who's working in that arena or in that realm to assist people in discovering their true
Mm.
selves, and what is beyond the veil that so many people, have, um, unintentionally perhaps, but living within a veil, that they can discover, the richness of this life and this universe. So that's truly awesome. So how do you do that? So let's go with, how does Adora accomplish this mission? What do you how do you help people?
Yeah. Well, and first, I'd love to say a little bit more about, I've done everything from work with celebrities to helping women really connect to their bodies, to love themselves. Men came along that journey as well, tapping into um, our bodies give us inklings about our business choices, relationship choices, food choices. They give us all kinds of, we'll say, what does your gut say? What does your heart say? Um, and so in a society where we've done a lot of objectifying of the body, or have been through different things where we're always up here in this beautiful, brilliant, logical mind, a lot of my work has to do with bringing that energy back into the present moment and back into the body, and starting with loving the body. Louise Hay was monumental for me in this, but it's definitely been a huge part of my healing journey. And what's funny is I'm talking about loving your body, healing the relationship that you have with your body. That way, when you get those gut inklings, when you get those intuitions, when you get those feelings, you trust them, because this is, it's the physical being or it's your only real estate. It's your house. It's your operating. It's where your spirit landed. And so when you're at war, outside of it, or always in your head, or the past or the future, you can miss some major guidance points. And so a lot of my own journey was about healing my relationship to my body. But here's the funny thing. My book, Majestic Money, it was about manifesting money. And the women who played that game with me initially were in it to manifest. And they did. They manifested. One manifested her dream home, another one her dream car. Women manifested so much in that 30 days. But the core work was, hey, come home, love yourself, hear yourself, listen to yourself, appreciate, notice, feel how you are loved in the universe. And it's pretty wild that that's the core work, except for to people like us who are talking, who know and have done a little of this. But we'll only allow ourselves to receive what we feel worthy of receiving. We'll only sustain what we feel is really, hi Shmiko, I hope I'm saying it right. We'll only sustain what we feel really powerfully that we're worthy of. So it's one of the greatest works, in my opinion. And, unfortunately, as a human race, we go through a lot of trauma. We're still evolving. And often when people go through trauma, they disassociate from their bodies. They disassociate from their lives. So again, that was certainly my case. And one of the greatest healing journeys that moved the needle in my bank account, because I was living in a boarded up home with no electricity, in my relationships, in my career, in my ability to take big risk and to feel comfortable in rooms of powerful, quote unquote, people or influential people, and to hold my own comfortably. All of that was connected to this core ability to connect to my own divinity, to accept and embrace my flaws, my beauty, and it was a big journey, but so important. So sometimes when people hear me talk, especially if you don't know any of the things that I've accomplished, or how the needle moved for me specifically, because we all want to accomplish different things, it can seem like, oh, this is a bunch of woo woo, whatever, where she's all out there in love all the way. Can you pay your rent with love? But it is it's the basis of how I've been able to heal my own life and elevate and transform and continue to evolve again and again and again. And now I've been able to work with thousands of women. I'm still in the journey. I will always be in the journey. You and I have a friend and mentor, Dennis Waitley's 88. He's still in the journey, right? So if you're here, we're in the journey until we know something different and we've left this life. But it's major. This is major, 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 because you can have all the achievements, and I have achieved many things that were so far away at one point in my life. And I've met many people who've achieved all the things. And the beautiful thing is it's wonderful. You get that, yes, I could do it. You get all the dopamine and satisfaction and confidence and integrity, but then you're left with still whatever your base is. So if you love yourself and you're lit up about your life and you're connected to spirit and to a flow then you can navigate that, because now it's about, well, what's next? Instead of like, oh, that was everything. It's really like whoever we are, that's who you are, just amplified, Cosette. I hope I'm saying these are amazing names. So delighted to be with you too. So whether I'm, working and creating high-level strategic alliances between influencers and multi-million-dollar companies, or I'm in the grocery store connecting with the cashier, I am connecting to, or aspiring to connect to, my own love, and from that place connecting with whoever's in front of me or whatever I'm navigating. And I think it's way more important than most people realize until they realize it.
I think that's absolutely outstanding and so worthwhile and so needed in today. And you say it so lovely. And I do think you can pay your rent with love.
I heard you say that. I kind of heard you in my head, like, actually, there is a way.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, ask Leo Buscaglia if you can. I have a rule that I've taught for 40 years, and that is go first. And you can look at all the ancient scriptures. You can look especially into the Bible, and there's not a time. Let's just take the Bible. It's not a time in the Bible where God says, I will do this, but you do that. Noah, build the ark, I'll save your family. You go blow the trumpets and chant, and the walls of Jericho will fall down. Go dig the ditches, and I'll send the rain. So it's this thing about going first. So even the airlines get it. Put your mask on first before you help somebody else, because and that's a realistic, kind of dangerous situation. But the point being is you got to get yourself straightened out first. So if you love yourself, if you drop into your present, you drop into your heart, then you can be loving and present with other people. You can give them your attention and your understanding and compassion, and thereby invite them to join you on a path that otherwise they may not, do. Because if you don't walk the talk, why should they, follow, or why should they walk with you? So I love what you're saying. I do think that, we think in terms of currency being, money, which is really just a measure of value provided. So somebody gives you dollars, or they give you digital stuff, or they give you 3 cows, or they give you, some whatever as an exchange. But if you're truly loving your life, and you're truly loving what you do, and you're truly loving the people, you do attract a different quality of energy and of people. And with that, it's not that you're not paying you're not saying, okay, landlord, I love you, give it to me free. But what you're doing is you're generating and attracting, and you're manifesting, much, much more good than you could ever think otherwise.
Yeah, and you're way more resourceful. Here's the thing. When you're in I'm not enough, or no, I'm in my underwear and my work uniform. That's awesome. Lucky you, Scott. So
I don't get the reference, but that's okay.
That's his work uniform now, because he works at home, so he gets to work in his underwear, I think is what he's saying. So you're way more resourceful. When we're in fight or flight, we often go into a contracted place. It's hard to see where our resources are. It's hard to see where possibility is. If you're in, self-depreciation, then even if things are all around you, like I remember being 20 2 years old. And one of my best girlfriends, she's still a best girlfriend, threw a birthday party for me. And I was still working through a ton of baggage from, being molested as a child, from feeling like I couldn't trust myself, like something was wrong with me. And I didn't know it was impacting my moment, this moment I'm describing to you. But I was sitting at this birthday party and about 40 people came in. And while they were walking in, I couldn't even receive them, because I was thinking they're just being nice. They just did this for Jody. They're just doing, so here I am surrounded by people who took their time to show up and be there and celebrate me. And I couldn't receive it in because I had a blocker on what I was worthy of receiving. And it looked like, they're just trying to be nice. So here's the whole point. Life is like that on lots of different levels. I've grown levels since then, but really we're all surrounded by resources, by connections, by things that could be that next job that you need, that next connection, that next hug, that next friend, that next, something you're looking for. I don't know, sprinklers in your backyard. But when we're in fight or flight, you lock up, and we're not generous to ourselves, to other people. We're not as resourceful even. So there's another benefit of really, Hugo, of moving into your heart, and getting into that space of, love, and the world is good. I'm good. This is, there's wisdom and there's action that comes with these things. I'm very strategic and I take action and I do lots of things. But ultimately, the people who say yes to me and the opportunities that open to me may start with some technique or strategy or something that I have, but they stay because of that love vibration. You call it love, call it rapport, relationship, connection. And people feel that. People feel it. But most important, you'll feel it. You'll feel it. It's like, how is your life feeling right now? And if it's feeling overwhelming, stressful, like too much, and we all have those moments, geez, especially in the past couple of years, we've had a season of that. But a good measure is like, okay, how am I feeling? And then resetting that feeling state through a gratitude practice, maybe through one of your meditations, Rex, through, another way to state change, so that you can take your actions and navigate through this feeling space. Because ultimately, when you look back how you feel about your life, I mean, what do we say? We want our kids to be happy. Why do we want them to be happy? We want them to feel good. We want them to have peace. We want them to love who they are because we love them so much, right? So if we can take the time to manage and learn to honor our feelings, but then also how to cultivate feelings of love and ease and gratitude and safety and purpose and meaning, then no matter what you do, whether you're washing the dishes in your house, taking a fourth job for some crazy reason because you've got a kid to put through college, or four of them to put, I don't know. The way that you feel as you're doing that, you can look back and go, how do I feel about my life today? And it really, that's going to be, the measure of your life ultimately, is how are you feeling? Did you feel connected? Did you feel satisfied? And so I think this is a really big piece for me, certainly, and for many of us that resonate with it. So
Well, what I find, that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and I so appreciate that. What I think is amazing is my early life was filled with struggle, as many people's ours, and I had a crisis around the time I was 25, and I talk about it in my book. But the point is that what I have learned since then is it is so much easier than I ever thought it could be. It happens so much easier, faster, quicker, and in incredible ways. And whenever I've tried to control it and push it and and force it a certain way, it seems to bottle up. But when I when I set an intention or I go, this is what I want, and I allow it, and I welcome it, I invite it, I allow it, I receive it, and I accept it. That's how I think of it, because you have to welcome things and invite them, and then welcome them in, and then allow them to come in, and then receive it, and then accept it. Because somebody can give you a gift and you don't accept it. Somebody,
Right.
there's the, there's the acceptance part of receiving. And so when I live from that, it just becomes truly an amazing and a delightful experience. Doesn't mean that I also say when you consider everything a blessing, then everything is a blessing. And how I end all my blogs and all my shows and everything is to celebrate everything with that in mind. And the reason for that is it doesn't mean that circumstances need to change or will change, but you change. And when you change, when you transform, then everything is different. And so how you go through the circumstances is different. So, people have said to me sometimes, how did you manage to get through that? I'm like, get through what? Because for me, it was just part of a process at going with the flow kind of thing. And for them, it looked like it might be really difficult. And there have been those times in my life. And it doesn't mean that there aren't challenges, but I typically don't even like to say I'm challenged. I don't use those. I tend not to use those words like I have a problem or I have a challenge. Sometimes you have to in conversation so people can understand what's going on.
Right.
But I think of it as it's an opportunity and it's a blessing and it happening for me, not to me. And so that there's always something to learn. And my job is simply to let go and discover, what it's all about and what I can bring to it through being part of it, because it is what it is. And I also accept that I probably somewhere created it, however you want to think about it. So I just love the fact that, you have helped so many people and you connect people up with their resources, and you do it at so many different levels, from people who have nearly nothing to people who are high level executives and celebrities and everything like that. I do want to talk because people come and go in shows and they don't always, get to hear everything at one time. So let's first just kind of segue to an event that you've got coming up. We'll come back and talk about it again, but let people know what it is that you're coming up, what they can, how they can be, a part of this or how they can attend.
Awesome.
And tell us what it is so that everybody can...
Yeah, and I do remind me to talk about feminine energy and manifesting in
and
this.
I will because I want to ask you about your book again and all of it. So we'll come
back.
I
love everything you said too. Yes. So I'm a super fan of Dennis Waitley, and he's been a mentor and friend now for over 20 years. He was in the movie The Secret. He was on the chairman of board for the U.S. Olympics, for the psychology of the U.S. Olympics. He's done so many other things, but he's been a mentor to many people, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, John Maxwell, just lots and lots of people. And so we have an event coming up here at LA Tribune with Mo Rock, and I will be hosting conversations between Dennis Waitley and Bob Proctor, Dennis Waitley and Dr. DeMartini, Dennis Waitley and Forbes Riley. And so Dennis Waitley and John Asteroff. So I keep putting in these headphones. So it's going to be a truly beautiful, phenomenal moment. We got to see Les Brown and Dennis. I facilitate a conversation between them, and they shared something vulnerably, and both of them were crying, and we were all crying. And there's something pretty magical that happens when you get legendary figures like that together. And so we're doing this in honor of Dennis Waitley's new book, The New Psychology of Winning. And this event's November 4th, 5th, and 6th, I believe. And there's more information coming out. I don't have any of the links to register or anything like that, but you can follow me on Facebook. I'll put my links in a moment, or on Instagram at adorasgroove.com, at adorasgroove. And also it'll be posted here on the Facebook page, the Los Angeles Tribune Facebook page, and you'll have all the information for registering. Uh-oh, you're muted.
And you can bet, because it's a cooperative event between you and the LA Tribune, that the LA Tribune will let people know. We'll be letting them know when everything is happening and how they can find it and enroll or attend.
Yeah, or sponsor. There are going to be some
Or sponsor.
sponsorship opportunities. And so definitely, if you're a speaker or you're really passionate about this industry, you'll want to reach out. We are going to feature a few of our sponsors as well.
Well, that is absolutely fabulous. So we'll come back to that again closer to the end of the show, just to remind people about the event, and that hi, Robert, and everyone who has said hi so far. We'll come back to that at the end, just to remind people again about it, and that they can follow you on Facebook. But let's go into the manifesting and the book, because I did want to ask you about that. I'm so glad that we're cycling back around. So tell us about the book, but about why you wrote the book and what it's about manifesting and helping tap into.
Yeah, this is so exciting. So I originally wrote it for women, but there have been more men that actually have reviewed the book on Amazon and on Audible than even women, which I love so much. And I'll likely do another version for both men and women. But hi, Cindy. So here's the thing. I started this as a manifesting game. So I believe everybody has feminine energy and masculine energy. We all have it inside of us. And that's just a label that I use to help explain, kind of like what Rex was saying earlier about sometimes he uses the word challenge. And what I noticed is that I have a very strong masculine energy that knows how to take action, go get it done, work, push, drive, vision, action. And then I have this beautiful feminine energy as well, but I wasn't leaning into it so much. I'd gone through a divorce, kind of locked up, and got in my super strong. And what I noticed is when I was in my super strong energy, that I was getting exhausted and depleted and, just driving and feeling just really dull in my life. And when I leaned into my feminine energy, and I'm going to say some pretty, you're going to want a pen and paper, maybe, especially if you're a woman for this one. When I started to really tap into my feminine energy, what would happen is flow, miracles, what people would think, are the universe just leveraging things on my behalf, just started happening, miracle upon miracle. And I found my life and my ability to receive and attract in what I wanted with more ease and grace was just like amazing. So here's what I want to say about women. I'm going to sit up big for this one because it excites me. So, most of what I'd been taught about manifesting, I learned from incredible men like Napoleon Hill. Dennis Waitley teaches a more scientific side, lots and lots of great men. The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Joseph Murphy. And thank you, Pamela. And it was amazing because it's their best articulation. But as I started thinking about women, here we go. Whenever you want to bring something that you imagine into the physical reality, that is what I would call from in spirit, inspiration, into manifested reality. So we want to take an inspiration, bring it into physical form. Well, get this. Women are the original portals for spirit into physical reality. So no one, Rex, Adora, Robert, Hugo, Cosette, Pamela, Cindy, we all made it from spirit realm through the portal of a woman's body into physical reality. So if you made it to earth, there was a portal, spirit into physical reality, and it was a woman's body. And so when I look at divinity, I look at it's a reflection. The physical realm, is a reflection of spiritual reality or the higher natural reality. So there must be masculine, feminine representation in that higher form, as well as here in this physical form. And so the feminine, in our DNA, we know how to bring spirit into physical reality. And part of that is being in tune with our own emotional cycles, our body cycles, our receiving, right? The feminine body receives the seed, and then a baby is born approximately 9 months later, and it's woven together in the dark, in the mysteries, while this woman's out doing all the things. So it's one, very powerful as a woman to recognize that, and as a man, because men love women, right? And we all have all of it inside of us. And so understanding that part of us that's born, that knows how to receive the inspired or in spirit and bring it into physical reality, and understanding the nature of the feminine, and the nature, Joseph Neville Goddard called the feminine, the subconscious mind is like the feminine. It's the receiver, and then it goes to work on your behalf, birthing that reality, right? I just discovered that after I wrote my book, or I would have quoted him and put it in this book. But I could go on and on, but this book, I originally brought together a small group of women, and I just read another manifesting book, and I noticed every time I'm listening to things about manifesting, I manifest more, more on point, more aligned. And I thought, dang, why do they always end? It would be so fun if there was a 30-day game that you could just keep playing, kind of like you go to the gym and you're practicing. And so I thought, I'm going to do a live group and just bring together 12 women. It ended up being 12 women, and we're going to do this. And what ended up happening is that the women, as they connected to their own hearts, their bodies, their intuition, their own guidance system, that everyone manifested things as small as coffees to cars, presents for their children, a new soulmate. There were so many things that were manifested. And the awesome thing was that for everyone, that was the icing on the cake. It was like money was the, okay, I'll play. Kind of like when you go, I want to get in shape, versus when you go, I'm going to run a marathon. You approach your workout a little bit different, right? Like, oh, there's a marathon coming in a few weeks. So putting money on the table had women show up in a different way, but they all said the greatest gifts that they got was their own divinity, their own power, their own ability to manifest again and again, and the access to that, versus, again, the gifts were the icing on the cake. And
that's
great.
That's so awesome. And the title of the book and where they can get it?
Yeah, it looks like this. So Majestic Money, the 30-day Femme Manifesting Game. And you can get it on Audible or Amazon. And it's ebook, paperback, Audible. Most people read it all the way through at first, and then go through it day by day, or open up to the day that they want. So if you find yourself with the book and you're wanting to just go through it, it's okay. People feel like, but I'm breaking the rules, or they get stopped. Just do it.
And I heartily recommend that you do get the book. It is an amazing book, and it's worthwhile to have and to use as studying this ability to make your wishes and dreams come through. I'm going to take a brief pause just for a moment to say thank you to the Los Angeles Tribune, Mo Rock and the Los Angeles Tribune, for making this show and other shows available. There's a lot of fine shows here on the LA Tribune TV network, and all of these stream live on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, and are available in replay also on Roku television. So thank you, Mo. Thank you, LA Tribune. And if Bailey doesn't speak, men, the male energy is actually an afterthought. We all start out as women, and then through a natural course of things, at the last moment we become men. And maybe that's why we struggle so hard to prove ourselves, because we spent most of our life, our beginning as female. And back in the 70s, actually, it was pointed out by an acting coach of mine, and then I did the research, was that given a long enough period of time in terms of evolution, men and women will become one. We will have the ability, like other species that can, like worms, that can procreate by themselves, because we will have evolved into, hermaphrodites, essentially. So, but the point is, and there are going to be a lot of people who hate that concept and don't want, they're all going to freak out, the whole thing going, oh, not if I could help it. But the point is that the energy that we have is not just a masculine energy, and in many ways, the masculine energy, is that pushing, kind of forcing energy that we have trying to assert ourselves. But it is that blend of being able to set forth an intention, and also be able to receive, and to welcome, and to invite, and to allow, and to accept it. So what you do and how you present is just so very beautiful. It's very lovely, and it's very needed in this day and age. So I'm so glad that you're a voice for what you do, and a source of power for what you do. And on top of that, there have been, I mean, we mentioned Murphy and Napoleon Hill and Waddles and all these men and everything else. But you can go into the Bible, you can go into ancient texts, find plenty of examples of women who were mystics, who were mediums for transformation. You can go to Mary Baker Eddy, Florence Shovel. I can't even see her name.
Yep, I know Florence Shovel Chen.
Whenever I say shovel, I get messed. But there are so many, beautiful examples of people who have a great understanding of what spirit, what divinity is, what consciousness is, that I would invite everybody to explore. And if you haven't read some of these women, if you haven't read Adora's book yet, you're going to absolutely want to, because if you have any struggle manifesting anything, this is the time to say surrender, and go with the flow, and get her book, and understand exactly, what you might do to do things in your own best interest.
Well, and thank you so much for that. And I've become friends with a rabbi that dedicates all of his work to divine feminine in biblical text and Jewish text. And I remember the first time I read, because my spiritual awakening was through Christ. I still worship. I still, I was Bible club president in high school. I still have lots of practices that are impacted by that faith. And I see energy, I read energy, I have all these logical and spiritual gifts, and the world is quite dynamic. And I remember the first time I read that the word Shekinah, everywhere that it said Shekinah or Shekin, in Aramaic, the language that Jesus spoke in, could be feminine. So then it would mean the Father, the Mother, the Holy Spirit. Everywhere it said Holy Spirit in the language Jesus spoke in could be feminine. But when it was rewritten, it was written in the masculine form, right? Which is A-okay. And I'm not here challenging anyone's religious beliefs. But for me personally, as a woman, growing up thinking I'm made in the image of God, who is a male, I didn't even realize until I read that there may be a representation of divinity, and it looks like this, like me. I just started weeping. I remember I just started weeping. It just hit this really deep place inside of me. And I find this masculine part, like I think Robert has an overabundance of both. Me too. I have a very strong masculine and a very strong feminine. And some days I'm working with both in a great balance. Sometimes I have seasons of really leaning on my masculine, then seasons of really being in my feminine. I was just in Hawaii with all the waterfalls and the fruit, and it was felt very feminine. But I know that when I'm all in push and drive and control and achieve, that things don't move as well for me. And also I'm not as happy. I'm not as at ease. And when I move into that, connected to my body, connected to my heart, connected to my spirit, and that feminine receptive side, I get inklings, I get intuitions, I get, one of the major partnerships I have right now that is a major income stream for me. It came from an inkling to go to a nail shop that I said I wouldn't go to again because they always jack up my nails. But it's a cute little couple and they're so sweet and they know how I like the Vietnamese coffee and they text me. And so I just randomly, when I would normally be working, went, okay, I got to go to this nail shop. And I wasn't going to go again there, but I went and I met this woman. She and I felt like we knew each other. We couldn't figure it out, didn't have any connections on Facebook or Instagram. Well, speed that up. She was on Bad Girls Club and she owns a couple of $1 million makeup academy. She bought the tattoo shop right next door to this nail shop, which is why she was there. Our daughters are named exactly the same name, spelled the same name, same way, and they are the same age. Wow. And we were both wanting people we'd have fun doing play dates with. Anyway, she ended up creating this partnership that is now, a major way that I impact people and earn income and help other women earn income. But that was all on an inkling. So that's what I'm talking about. Like if I was just driving my work agenda, one, I wouldn't have gone to that nail shop and I wouldn't have gone in the middle of the day when I was supposed to be doing all these other things on my list. But when you're in your vision and in your heart and you have these things balanced, I still have a list that I follow. I get things done. It took a list to write and publish a book, right? You know that, Rex. But being in my heart and just getting this inkling and following it opened this whole world that didn't exist if I had not followed that inkling. And so that's the magic of really getting attuned and understanding how both sides work and understanding the flow so that when it calls you, when your own being is trying to direct you somewhere, you're not just the taskmaster going, no, you're not allowed to. You're supposed to work right now. You're supposed to be doing more. Really like quantum leaps. I go like this because it's like super leverage, happens when we get these things aligned. Me personally, and I'm learning to master it on new levels. And Rex, I love that you operate in a similar way.
Well, I have been, my first acting coach was a woman. I was in dance and acrobatics, and the first coach that I had was a woman there. Almost everybody that has ever influenced me, I worked with Pat Collins, the hypnotist, and helped teach her self-hypnosis classes and furthered my education in stage hypnosis with Pat. Almost all the major acting coaches, I mean, I've had men, but all the famous ones, Uta Hagen, my dear friend Lillian Chauvin, Stella Adler, I mean, I can go on and on and on, have been spiritually, I mean, I've just been surrounded by, I would say powerful, but the way I mean powerful is that they were spirit-filled, incredible women that knew what they wanted, and they were total sources of positive energy. So that's where I derive most of my influence in my life. I lived in a commune for 5 years that was mostly taken care of by women, and I mean, I came and went. I wasn't just in the commune forever.
Yeah.
I still had a career and had to leave the commune, but the point was that it was women centered, and I've always made the argument that we need women in politics, and now I've watched some women fight in the street and brawl in front of bars. I mean, they can be very vicious. It's not that there's just like one side is great and the other side isn't. We embody both, and it's the energy that we're talking about, not just the. I mean, it is true that housed within your physicality, there's more feminine energy probably than there is in mine. But that said, we both need to fall in love with ourselves as whole beings, masculine and feminine. But a lot of men particularly could learn. I studied research. I researched psychic phenomenon with Thelma Moss. I don't know if the audience knows who that is. She wrote a book called Body Electric and other things on Kirlian photography. And she was a researcher through UCLA. We did a lot of stuff in the early 80s. I spent years at psychic fairs researching psychic stuff, actually we're operating as a psychic. I don't say any of this for anything other than so many of those are women, and it's sad that in many ways, and it's part of our evolution and it's changing. I mean, I think that's what is happening with the consciousness, that people are waking up to the fact that we've been kind of overly lopsided in our approach, especially in the United States, but in terms of our politics and our business and stuff. And so that's more women centered. Now in the film business, for example, there's more women directors that are emerging. People are starting to say, hey, we need fair and equal pay and representation, and we need parts and roles. So there's an awakening and an awareness that's happening. And it's no mistake. It's truly, time, and it's ongoing. But what a beautiful opportunity for all of us to just explore. You talk about intuition, and some people say, "Oh, intuition," but look at what it led you to do. Look at how it connects you up. And if people can't pay attention to that aspect of themselves, they're missing a huge aspect of themselves. That
Yeah.
I mean, think about the people who used to, before we got all technological. I mean, before we became so left-brained, and I hate that because I don't even believe in that notion necessarily. It's just a way of talking about things. But before we became so reliant on machinery and mechanics, and now internet technology and everything else, you look at the indigenous people in nations. I mean, we can't even explain how the pyramids were built, right?
That's right.
There were people who could navigate land and travel in land and know what they were doing from following their heart, from their gut, from their instincts. They didn't, maybe some of them did it from the sky, but the point is that they relied more on themselves and less on all the accoutrements around them. And we've become so distracted that we need GPSs, and we need phones, and we need Wi-Fi, and and I'm glad that we've got them.
Me too.
But it takes us further away from who we truly are. And
That's
I think the important work that you're doing is it's bringing us back to who we are as a human, with or without technology.
With or without technology, male or female, wherever you identify in the middle of all this, it's not an either or. However, again and again and again, I remember, I said I was living in a boarded up home with no electricity. There was another time later when I first read Think and Grow Rich, and I wrote down, I needed a change. I was working at a nightclub. I was ready for a big change. And chapter 1, how many of you have read Think and Grow Rich? Chapter 1, deafness of purpose. So I wrote down, if I could do anything, I would love to be paid to interview successful people the way Napoleon Hill is interviewing, even though he wasn't paid, but that's what I wrote down. A few weeks later, someone who didn't know I'd written that down called me, said, look, there's a job I had in my 20s. You would do great. I can get you the interview. You're going to have to pass all the tests, but it'll give you a great skill set. And I was just in the place, trusted it, got the job. And it ended up being as a producer on the Discovery Channel for Pat Summerall. And my job was calling CEOs of 10 million plus that were revenuing 10 million plus per year and interviewing them to see if they would be featured on that show. And I wasn't even done with the book. So that's like one of those things. And I have example after example, working with a designer who dressed Prince his entire career, and working with celebrities on red carpets, getting to work on the movie The Secret, getting to write for a fashion and art magazine in Egypt. There have been consistent leaps in my world that didn't come from going, okay, I want to be a writer, so let me go get a degree in journalism. Nothing wrong with that. I definitely take action on the goals that I have, but there have been things arranged on my behalf that I didn't and couldn't arrange solely on my own. And if I hadn't set the intention and the vision, and then been playful enough in my mind and thoughts to imagine it as a reality, and then show up in life when those inklings came, they wouldn't have happened, or they wouldn't have happened as fast. So, I've been able to live, everybody has their own version of what a rich life is, of what their dreams are, but I've been able to do so many things that were completely just a vision, and something my imagination thought would be really fun to do, from being, getting to dance professionally in California with Telemundo on a little tour, to working with celebrities on red carpets, to working with authors, speakers, living in Egypt, being the senior writer for a fashion and art magazine, working with all their celebrities, to lots of the work that I do now. That as that girl who had lived on her own at 15, even at 12 for a little bit, I mean, living in a boarded up home with no electricity, with sheetrock, not even in the walls, so just walls and studs, from that place, it was all imagination. And every leap that I've ever taken has been not just imagination, but aligned imagination. Like, wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? And stuff that really resonates with your heart. When you go to those places and let yourself imagine and then take action, because action, in my opinion, is the highest form of prayer. It is the highest form of faith. You've mentioned Jesus quite a bit. And Jesus always, when he gave miracles, said, by your faith, you receive this. That's that placebo you were talking about. By your faith, you receive it. And so, your action is your highest form of prayer, because, thank you, Cosette. It's the highest form of prayer because it says, what I'm asking for, I am taking the action to say it is done. It is true. I believe it's coming. I'm going to take action. So you can't just like visualize this beautiful body and then not go to the gym, right? Going to the gym or changing your eating or doing something physical, those are the actions that say I'm aligned and praying with my body and with my action that this thing come to pass. So I've heard it said multiple times, law of attraction, the word action is written in it. So I'm definitely not all about just woo, sa, feel it all in. However, when we miss this part, when we don't make room as the co-creator of reality to vision and feel and inspire ourselves and to connect into that, the action that we do take becomes harder, heavier, more of a grind. It's the difference. I like to use the analogy, and you may love climbing up Mount Everest with a backpack and all of the things. Personally, I like the idea of a helicopter taking me to the top with a nice little table, and that's still going to take work, And a lot of stuff that I do, people say you work really hard. But the thing is, it doesn't feel like work to me most of the time because I'm in my inspiration, and I put rigid boundaries around, okay, I'm not working now. I'm with my daughter. I'm at her swim practices. I'm in a hot tub. I'm in Hawaii. I have very rigid boundaries around my family time, the other things that make life meaningful for me, dancing, playing, shopping, playing in makeup, whatever that is. But then when I'm working, it feels like, Rex, I know, because you said you don't use the word challenge. It's like so many of the things that I would say are challenging, like hiring new staff, learning to scale, learning to be a better leader, learning to communicate in my relationship. We're so frustrated because we've got a new business partnership and we manage things differently. When I look back or I step away from that, I go, you know what? These are all things I prayed to have the opportunity to do. I prayed for the opportunity to be a good mother. I prayed for the opportunity to be in business. I asked for a relationship where I could build an empire with my man. So these challenges are a gift that I get to grow into, right? So a lot of it is perspective. But if you start with the purpose and the inspiration and the openness, like you talked about, and the receiving and accepting, I think that was the order you used, Rex, then it feels differently. And again, there we go with the quality of life. Someone, we're in the same game, but how you perceive it and how you played it and how you felt is totally going to impact your own perception of your quality of life. and how much you enjoyed it, and was it satisfying? So so we start with that.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I say invite, welcome, allow, receive, and accept. And because a prayer can be an invitation, I mean, but I want to say a couple of things. One is I was going to ask you how you got so well connected and how you ended up with these things, and you answered it before I could ask. So awesome. I appreciate that. But one of the things that and we only have a few minutes left, so I want to give it to you, but I'm a firm believer that if you try and solve a problem, you have a problem, and if you look to the solution, you end up with the problem, because it's two sides of the one coin. So you really need to understand that you have to think qualitatively differently, because what you focus on is what you get. And people don't seem to realize that even when they have a desire, if they look to the desire and realize that they don't have it yet, and they feel that lack of it, or that it's somewhere else, they're not living from the feeling of the wish fulfilled. They're living from the feeling of not having it, and so they end up not having it. But you said something that I really do enjoy, and I really do like, and I really embrace, and I practice myself. But I think, and it may have flown over some people's heads, and other people got it. But you said, what do I really like to do? What would I want to do? What would I enjoy? And I think that too many people are saying, I have to do this, I have to do that. They're trying to push something like, I need to have $1 million. But it's like, what would you want the $1 million for? I mean, in other words, what is it about that brings you joy? What would you love to do, as opposed to what do you feel you have to do? Because when you start getting in touch with what you love to do and what you would enjoy doing, I think that opens. I want you to talk on it, because you're the one who said it. But
yeah,
but just a different energy from having to manifest something versus inviting it and saying, wow, this is a wonderful time.
Yeah. I have this conversation a lot, and I love it so much in a few minutes. Because I remember my early 20s putting on these goal setting workshops with my friends. And I was talking with my friend Jody, because we were all writing, for a multi-million-dollar home with a private jet and a private island and, all these things. And we were kind of like, because how outrageous and wild can we be? And it's funny, because one of that girlfriend, that was never her dream. She was just kind of following everyone else. And as she matured, she ended up going from 5 homes to acreage in Hawaii and an off-grid home, and they're buying another 100 acres. And even though they're building a totally shishi house with all the amenities, she wants to continue to live in the open air, and that's her happy spot, right? So a lot of times when we first start thinking outrageous goals, we start just grabbing, and it's a good practice. That's how you practice, is you start grabbing at, well, that sounds good. And that sounds good. But the more you get to know yourself, the things that you actually love, they will move. And now the other part, in my own relationship, I think it was like 2 years ago, I was feeling like I wanted my man to be more like this and more like that, and he was distracted. And so I went, okay, I'm in lack energy. I'm definitely not in appreciation of who he is right now. So I went, okay, how can I shift and receive everything that I'm wanting? So I started talking to the universe. I do that a lot. And you can take it and change it to where it fits you. But I was just like, all right, from my feminine, divine masculine, you're my lover, you're my king. I want you to woo me and just pamper me and, flirt with me and show me all these things. And I had just been imagining being in private jets again, and oceans. I hadn't been traveling. I wanted to be on more beaches. You guys, right after I said that prayer, this same friend, Jody, messaged me, and she said, hey, can you come stay with me in Hawaii for 10 days on these dates? If you can, I've got half your ticket and everything when you get here. So that was day 1. Second day, I'm with my man, and he's doing a marathon or something. I'm out there supporting him, feeling a little like, why doesn't he support me? Oh yeah, universe, and I'm like checking myself. and which he's very supportive. But I'm just telling you, this is how part of it happened, because anytime you attach to a person or an opportunity as your source, it's going to move and shift for you, because it's not your happiness. You're generating, you're receiving everything that's already there is how the world shifts, right? And so I get a message from a girlfriend, and she said, "Where's your nearest airport?" I told her Redbird. She goes, "I want you to meet me there." Her husband's a pilot. I meet her after the marathon, and she goes, "We're going to go into the plane." They flew their plane there, and you're going to sit in the front seat. So this is the second day after the prayer. I'm in the clouds, and he gives me a flying lesson.
Oh, wow.
This was unplanned, and I had just been visualizing. So it wasn't a private jet. It was but it was all the elements, right? And am I going to say it's going to happen like that all the time? Maybe for you, but it doesn't always go like that. The key is getting into your heart. What would be really fun? Because that, I want to know you too. Please connect with me on social. Opening to what is it that I want? What would be fun? And taking the cap off. A lot of times we'll limit. No, I can't do that right now because COVID, or I can't do that right now because I live in this state and my children, I'm divorced. We're not allowed to go to other states. So I'm not going to think about that right now. Right. And as soon as you do that, you shut down the faculties and the resources. And so maybe there's a thought or something else that wants to come in that you haven't even thought of yet. But because you're putting limiters on it, you don't get to know what it is. So yeah, I love that whole, what wouldn't it be fun if, wouldn't it be fun if, wouldn't it be, I have one, wouldn't it be fun if I could take a picture with Tina Turner's legs? Her too, but I love her. She's got some epic legs, you know? So you heard it here if and when that happens.
And tomorrow, when it happens, we'll be thrilled.
Tomorrow, it's gonna be that fast. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, it's an interesting thing because we talked about things being woo woo and the need for action, and I think what happens for a lot of people is it's not going to happen if you sit in your room going, money's flowing to me, money's flowing to me. That may be a preparatory thing, but that's not what it's about. And the other thing is if you're again going, money's flowing to me, but you're feeling lack, you're not opening it, but to go, wow, how much fun can I have? My friends get really mad at me because I own Los Angeles. Well, I own the world. And they go, boy, that is so arrogant. And I go, no, I mean, everybody's a co-owner.
Right.
When I came into my power was when I realized I own this place. I own, and so I drive through Los Angeles. I get all the best parking spots. I zip through the town during rush hour traffic. And I always tell people, if I'm stuck on PCH, on Highway 1, and at the beach in traffic, we're better to be stuck in traffic, than at the beach, and my friends in LA get so mad at me. They're like, oh yeah, you're Mr. Positive. And and I'm like, you know what? If it works, it works. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work, I say all this because what you said was these things happen, and it may or may not always happen that way. But it certainly could always happen that way. The problem with most people is we tend to, as influencers, we tend to say, well, in case it doesn't, so that you're not disappointed, so that you pursue the path, keep going if it doesn't work out that way, and realize, but it could be that you just have the most fabulous, wonderful, incredible life ever, and that everything works out in really wonderful and beautiful ways for you. And why not? In other words, why not make it fun and enjoyable and all the kinds of celebration? Because we were meant to live in a garden to begin with. If you believe the scripture, we were meant to live in a place where everything's taken care of, and all we had to do was choose life over knowledge of good and evil. And we kind of went, okay, we'll the head is more important than the heart. So fall into your heart, fall into your present, and make life a total celebration, and it becomes a total celebration. So I love all of everything that you said. We're gonna have to close out. We've gone a little bit long, and that's fine. And I would do this and have you back again. But I do want to remind people about the event, also about your book. So let's go back through both of those before we go, and then I'll let you have a couple closing moments of closing words if you want to leave anybody with any extra Adora tip or
Yeah, awesome, Rex. It's so much fun being with you and everybody here, Robert and Cassette, and everybody who commented. Thank you so much. It makes it way more fun when we have your participation. So, and Robert, I think you got the book on Kindle, you said. So, Majestic Money, the 30-day Femme Manifesting Game. You can get it on Amazon. You could get it on Audible and listen to the audio version. There's a workbook version as well that goes with it. You can find there if you'd like. And our event is November 4th, 5th, and 6th. It's the New Psychology of Winning tour. And you'll be able to find information not only on my page, Adora's Groove, if you're on Instagram, but the Los Angeles Tribune will put up a lot of things about this event, as well as like how to register and the times and all that jazz. So thank you. And if I could leave you all with anything, one of my favorite practices is when you take a shower, when you take a bath, you can I recommend doing this once at least in a sacred way where you're really thoughtful and mindful, and you can always repeat. So I love Cleopatra. It said that she had a room dedicated to bathing and a room dedicated to makeup. And the reason is she believed her body was the temple. And in all kinds of religions, the temple is the place we go to meet God. So if your body truly is your temple, where your soul, your spirit meets its highest, God, divinity, spirit, then, there were always rules about how you set the temple and lighting the incense and all of that. And so it is the vibrational space that holds your divinity. So I love to use that time at least once to set your incense, set your time. And then when you're bathing, you can certainly say a cleansing prayer, like I wash away anything that no longer serves me, in gratitude. And, but my favorite is take a moment and go, as you're bathing your hands, thank you for all the people you've let me touch, for the food, for the things I've held in my hands, arms. Thank you for letting me hold my babies and climb trees, and, and do that with every single part of your body. And what it does is it sends that vibration of love. It resets at a cellular level, this energy of reverence and a reminder of, who you are and what you are and what a gift. It's really beautiful for getting that relationship aligned. And once you've done it once, you might feel called, like me, to do it at different times, or you may do a quick, like, yes, I love you, thank you, cleansing, releasing. But there's something to leave you with.
Oh, that is beautiful. And we're going to have to say goodbye. I hope you have a moment to hang out in the green room. And I'm going to close out the show. But if you'll stick around for a moment, I want to talk to you about something. And I so appreciate you being here. And again, how can people reach you? You say Adora's Groove, and you say Instagram. Do you have a website or anything that?
Oh, yes, you can go to adoracrystal.com. I know we don't all go to websites much anymore. It's like social media is the place. So, but Adora's Groove on Instagram. And then I'm probably tagged in this. If not, we can tag my social media, my Facebook handle here. And then, we can connect up on the messenger chats that way.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. I am thrilled to have had you on the show today. And I invite everybody who's watching, I want to thank everybody who's watching, but go ahead and share the show. You who are watching, who have commented and who have questions, both live and or in the replay, if you go ahead and share it, you will reach more people than I or Adora could ever reach alone. So 100%. If you go ahead and share the show and share it to your friends and your family and your colleagues and everyone, I certainly would appreciate it. And of course, you can subscribe and you can like and you can comment even after.
Do all the things, all the social media party things. Yes, and thank you. And remember, when you're sharing out there, you're creating a ripple effect. Like, who needs to hear about loving themselves? Who needs to hear about receiving? So yes, thank you. And Tim Shea, good to see you. Cosette, can't wait to connect. Robert, can't wait to hear your feedback on the book. And I will hang in the green room.
Very, very cool. All right. Yeah. Hang for a second and then I'll be right there. And I just want to say thank you to all. Have a great day. And so long to Adora. And I'm Rex Slikes, and I've been so glad to be here with you. And I want to thank again the LA Tribune. I am the author of this book, Life on Your Terms, Create the Life You Want, and you can get it from Amazon. But if you go to my website right here, it's in the, it should be there somewhere. I think they'll put it up in just a second. You go there. What I want to give you is an absolute free $497 training on the mastery loop, which is how you can master your thoughts, master your feelings, master the very kind of things that we're talking about so that you can manifest easier and with more fun and more delight. And I want to give you that as a bonus to getting the book from Amazon. So if you go to this website right there, it's all self-explanatory. You just use the receipt code from Amazon, put it there, and you got access to this $197 powerful online video training. So please do that. That's my gift to you for getting the book and for transforming your life. I want to thank my guest, Adora. I want to thank the Los Angeles Times. I want to thank you, the viewers and the watchers and the listeners and the people who are here for being here today, both live and otherwise, wherever you're listening and watching. If you consider everything a blessing, then everything truly is a blessing. So I invite you to celebrate everything. I'll see you next time.